right, just preparing the live stream. Beautiful. Here we are. This is going to be the start of something absolutely incredible. I'm so excited for this very first of the Illumination series with the Radiant Evolution Collective. I'm Aurora Light, and I'm here with my two beautiful soul sisters and evolutionary partners, Nina Infinity and Radiant Soul Nicole. And I am so excited and delighted that we not only had the brainwave to do this, but also we had the follow through to make it happen. We've been speaking and co-creating together for so long, and we wanted to be able to bring more energy of the incredible conversations that we have just in private out to the public, because it is just always illuminating for us and really supportive for the three of us. And we just wanted to share that all with you. So the intention behind this series will be to come every week with something that we are wanting to hold and shine the light of our consciousness upon and chat about, jam about, talking about the energy, talking about what's going on in the world, intentions, and sharing it out. So please, if you are enjoying what it is that we're bringing, if you're on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, please feel free to share with your friends, and let's bring more light to this planet. So first, maybe I would love for those who don't know us, just to get a little peek into who we are and why we're together. Nicole, I'm just going to throw it to you to introduce yourself.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I am Nicole Rose, or Radiant Soul Nicole, and I am a soul embodiment guide, an ecstatic dance facilitator, and I love leading people inwards so that they can start to really connect with who they are in their beingness and love themselves for who they are and forgive and accept themselves for who they're not. And I know both of you lovely ladies from hula hooping about a decade ago, or a little bit longer now, I guess. And yeah, all three of us grew up hula hooping together, and now we're doing all this other amazing stuff, bringing all the magic that we had, that we, discovered from that plastic circle, into our lives in so many different ways.
Yes, throwing it way back, we could all throw down, and we were all literal professional hula hoopers, in that people would pay us money to teach or perform with hula hoops, like the plastic circles that we're referring to, sometimes lit up, sometimes on fire. It was pretty much the best thing ever, or so we thought at the time. And now we have created what feels like something even more expansive and even better, because we get to share this joyful, playful energy with the world now. Nina, tell us just a little bit about you too.
So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Nina Infinity, and I'm a transformational guide and an elemental priestess of light. And I love to create sacred spaces for people to come together in community, to connect with themselves, with one another, with the earth, Pachamama, with source, with all of the elements that make up who we are and this world that we live in. And so as we can come more into communion with the elements and these elemental forces of creation, we can come more into harmony with ourselves and all of life, and just to realize that all of life is here for us, to support us, to help us thrive, to fuel us and nourish us. And I do this by bringing people together in ceremony, often co-created by beautiful Aurora and Nicole, and as well as other types of ceremony like breathwork and ecstatic dance and so much more.
Nina's ceremonies are always so incredible. And I feel like the three of us overlap in so many ways with the gifts that we bring and we share. I call myself now a conscious creation and voice activation coach. I've also called myself a joy alchemist because I love turning all the shit into gold, especially as a belief repatterning practitioner and a soul embodiment guide like Nicole, to take all of the spiritual soul energy, the ineffable essence of what we are, and bring it into our bodies and then express it out into the world. And I love doing that in playful, co-creative ways that support us in elevating our vibrational frequency, body, mind, and soul, getting it all in alignment, and then really becoming aware of our ability to consciously co-create reality, not only our personal ones, but like the world, like be the change that we want to see in the world, and have a lot of fun doing it. So I'm just so happy to be here with you ladies. I referred to it as an evolutionary partnership because that's what Nina said the other day on a voice chat that we had. And Nicole and I were both like, yes, that's exactly what it is. We've been friends for a long time, but my favorite thing is how we can hold space for each other to learn and grow. And we'll call each other out on things that need to be called out, you know, in loving and compassionate ways. For example, if someone is being way too hard on themselves, if someone is feeling like they don't have anything to contribute that's valuable, right? And so many other ways too, or maybe like, hey, you've been working too hard, maybe you need to take some time to rest and to integrate. And it's just so valuable to have beautiful beings who love you share honestly what it is that they can see you need, because we can't always see ourselves, right? It's just so beautiful to be witnessed and to be held like that. And so we just love creating communities and experiences where people can feel that, even if it's just for 1 hour in a ceremony or for a week during a retreat. And today we're going to be talking more about illumination, because there is a lot of light coming onto the planet right now. It's kind of a big deal, and it's kind of a pain in the butt because it is bright. When I'm talking about light, I'm speaking of many etheric and physical forces. So you'll see it energetically if you're able to, but also in things like geomagnetic storms, solar storms, cosmic radiation that is coming to the planet that is affecting us, altering us body, mind, and soul, and really highlighting a lot of the shit that has been going on in our lives and in the collective that just needs to be seen. It can't hide in the shadows when so much light is being poured upon it. And we'd love to just chat a little bit about this process of illumination that's happening right now and really has been happening over the last few years. So I'm just gonna throw it out to you ladies. When you hear or feel into the idea of things being illuminated personally and collectively, what does that evoke for you? I'd love to just actually ask you first, Nina. Oh, I think you're muted though.
Thank you. Such a time where, so as you mentioned, so much light is coming into the planet, so much information, and it is acting like a flashlight where it's shining the light on areas that haven't been working, areas that have challenges, areas where we have opportunities to adjust so that it works better for all of our collective. And by shining a flashlight on it, it's not that it's new. It has many of these things have always have been this way for a very long time, but this is an opportunity for us to see it with clear eyes and for us to recognize what is what is in the world and create change from a place of recognizing what is now and choosing how we want to experience in the future, choosing what we want the outcome to feel like and be and look like. So that with the power of our intention, we often talk about intention in our ceremonies, setting an intention at the beginning of a ceremony, setting the intention at the beginning of a day or the beginning of starting a project, because we're literally having the part of our brain called the reticular activator direct our intention, direct our focus towards what we would like to create, what we'd like to experience. So in this time, as we're seeing a lot that may not look that great to us, there might be a lot of things that are illuminated that are ugly. We have this opportunity to hold space, to set our intention towards what we would like to create. And also what's coming up is this is happening on a collective level so that we can also see it as a mirror, because the law of mirrors shows us that what we're seeing out in the world, what we're seeing in other people, what we're seeing in the collective is an opportunity for us to see what's within ourselves. It might be like a direct mirror, or it might be a part that there's like an aspect to ourselves of maybe how we regard ourselves, or maybe how we regard others, that when we see this, it can be intense at first, but to be compassionate and recognize that this is actually serving us so that we can choose an intention, so that we can create something new.
I love that. And what I'm really hearing for this is that I just want to pull out a little bit more for people who might not consciously know these words, or maybe you do and it's great, but this is the best reminder. It's not happening to us. It's happening for us. And if you zoom out even further, it's happening as us, by us, as the universe experiencing itself. Now, that's your level of perception. If you are wanting to hang out in the victim of it's happening to me, you are so free to do that. It's a game that we're playing, an exploration, a learning, a level of perspective. But I just want to say that from having played that in the past and also playing the game of it's happening for me, I know which one feels better. And I know which one supports me and all of the people that I work with, all of the people that I know that are co-creating new things. They have the ability to take what feels like a huge obstacle, a crisis, and turn it into an opportunity, like Nina was saying, to create something new, right? If we don't have what's not working highlighted, then we don't know. It's in the unconscious, or in the shadow, in the subconscious, in the hidden parts of society or our lives. And when we have that blast of light that shows us what is happening, it can look awful. And we're like, oh no, this is terrible. The earth is in an awful position, or my life is chaos and shambles. I'm a terrible person, whatever we feel at first. That's the very first step, that illumination, to be able to do something about it. Because if we don't know, we can't change it. So while it seems in so many ways like the illumination is such a bitch, because we kind of wish we didn't know, that blissful ignorance was really lovely and kind, it's an opportunity, right, for us to consciously cultivate something new. And it's also still a pain in the ass. Like, we get to honor and acknowledge that. So, Nicole, what do you think about this whole process of light illuminating?
I agree with everything that you all said so far. I was actually just talking with my mom about this last night, about how it really can be so easy to look around the world and be like, oh my God, everything is falling apart. Like, we're all doomed. And if you have a certain lens on, it does seem like that. But I keep telling her, and I try to keep being the light, saying it's all falling apart. It's showing us what's not working. I think that's what, especially this last year is really highlighting all of the things that are not working. And it's created such division because the things that aren't working are so internalized in some people that they don't even realize that it's a problem. And then it's creating all of this like, fighting and polarization and division. And that's all part of the problem. Or sorry, that's all part of, not the problem. That's all part of what's the word? I'm totally missing the word. It's all part of the plan, the process. Yeah, we need to have this process. It needs to come up and to be illuminated. And I'm just so curious because all of the spiritual folks that I follow are like, wow, May's going to be a really intense month. So I think that it's going to bring up even more, show us even more. But for myself, I sometimes have to remember that I'm always really excited to dive into the shadows and to like look at the darkness. And I know that that's not true for everybody. I am like, yeah, I'm ready to go because I know that if I look at those scary parts of me, and I've been able to, like, after years of practicing, I've been able to really hold space and hold love and have that zoomed out perspective and also be able to um, hold space for it at the same time. So it's like that paradoxical thing of like, it sucks here in my 3D reality, and I can also see the higher picture of it in the zoomed out perspective. And so I know that even if I'm going to have to go and feel some pain and it's going to suck for a while, it's going to be so much better on the other side. So that's why holding that intention and creating what we want to create, holding that intention to create what we want to create is so important, and not getting stuck in the muck. But you still have to feel your feelings and go through all the uncomfortable shit. And that's why I love, like, dancing and journaling and doing all these things that we all practice, because it helps me be able to process it. I know that I have to move through it, and some things are harder than others. I'm not going to lie about that, but it's just part of the whole process. And I think the quicker that we can all embrace that, and then things will start to actually shift even more, and it makes it so much easier. When you create that resistance of not wanting to look at it, then you have to deal with that first, and then there's still the problem that it's like you're ignoring on top of that. So having the just allowing what is, and just truly holding out hope that it's getting better and trusting that it's getting better. And that comes that whole piece of like surrender and trust. And, that's a big practice too. But I think my own personal journey has helped me so much on that.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm hearing from you is the fastest way through is literally through it. It's to dive in instead of to pretend like it's not there, pulling an ostrich with the head in the sand. Yeah, so that willingness to move through the ick, the density, is honestly one of my favorite things about you, Nicole, and Nina, that you're willing to face the shit that's being illuminated in your life and in the world. So I'd love to hear from you both, just maybe a little bit about what's being illuminated for you right now, because it can't just be for you. I mean, it's going to be something that resonates with somebody that's watching here. So I'm just feeling like, actually, Nicole, I want you to continue with your train of thought and tell us about what's being illuminated right here, right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, so if you're new to me, I have had a concussion for 2 years, and I've just actually like had a big level up in my healing, I feel like, and I'm able to do a lot more again. Like it was literally life changing. And I did go through some parts of it at the beginning when like, why did this happen to me? This changed my entire life. I can't do the things I love anymore. I had to spend like I couldn't even go for a walk around the block without getting like a heart rate of like 180 and getting super dizzy and all sorts of things at the beginning of it. And so I couldn't do things like hula hooping. Like it really changed so much of my life. I couldn't even just play with my daughter. Like I'd have to prioritize how much energy I had during the day. And I'm like, okay, I can play with her for a bit and then I'll have to go rest. And so I've come a long way. So I want to celebrate that. Um, yeah. But this new period has been really odd because so we've been in this period for a little bit now, a couple months where a couple weeks, I should say, where there's really been this influx of light coming in. And I was kind of preparing myself for it, like, okay, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be a lot. And I'm honestly probably the past couple months have been a little bit challenging. I've been more susceptible to the energy influxes and they've really kind of wiped me out a lot of the times, or I needed more rest. And also just so much was coming up to be cleared. So I'd be like, I need to work today, but really I can't ignore this like sensation in my body, this anger that's coming up, this other stuff, because it was all coming to the surface. So maybe I was just pre-waving on what was happening now. I was getting those, all that energy, all that density was getting brought up to the surface to be cleared. And I couldn't ignore it. And luckily I have the privilege to be able to, work through my stuff when it arises. And yeah, so this last little bit, I've been actually feeling pretty good and my health has been getting better. And then part of me is like, oh no, is this gonna is this, I'm kind of scared that like something's gonna change and shift. I'm like, can I really trust this? That things are getting better? And I saw an update about, actually yesterday I saw this about what's happening in the energy today. And it was like showing you, it's gonna highlight who you are being versus who you are. And I was like, oh, I felt like this was gonna bring me down. And then I'm like I'm being too much and I should like tone it down. I'm like, oh, what if it's the opposite? What if I'm not being enough? And now I'm actually getting this chance to shine my light even more and to actually show up even more. And I was like, oh, it's just funny how my brain, like, it goes to the negative things first sometimes, but I caught it. And I was like, maybe this is where my words for the year of creation and expansion are really starting to magnetize and really go out there. I had to create the conditions for creation and expansion, and now it's maybe coming into fruition. And it's so exciting with I was walking through the forest today and saw all the buds budding, and there's so much more little patches of green everywhere. And it's like, there's so much possibility right now. So I'm actually feeling like a ton of possibility. There's so much, there's just so much possibility that can come out of all of this. And it really, I guess, like we talked about before, going through it, dealing with the stuff as it comes up as best you can. Like sometimes you might not be able to deal with it exactly in the moment, but being like, hey, mind, body, soul, I'm at work right now and I can't deal with this, but we'll deal with it later today when I have a moment, kind of thing, and not just ignoring it and sweeping it under the rug. The rug's been lifted. We have to look at it now. We don't have the choice anymore not to. So yeah, I'm feeling expansive and excited for what is the possibility of what can come next.
That's so exciting and very timely. When we're working with creation intentionally and the elements, which the three of us really do, the wheel of the year really does affect us. And we set some very strong intentions back at the winter solstice, right? Planting seeds, like your theme of creation and expansion. And then going through, we just crossed over the cross quarter point between the equinox and the solstice, called Beltane in North America. It's pronounced very differently if you're speaking the Celtic, but I cannot do it without butchering it, so I won't. And this is when you start to see things start to physically bloom, at least in the Northern Hemisphere where we are right now, right? The buds. So the seeds that you've planted and all of the work that you've done, we get to start to see some of those results, which is so, so exciting. And everyone's at different parts of their journey with that. Nina, I'd love to hear from you a little bit about what's being illuminated for you right now.
So for me, I'm sort of at the place that Nicole was describing as a couple of months ago, where I'm having a lot of the density arise for me. There's a lot to recognize and sit with and hold space for in a loving way. And it's so interesting in this process. Oftentimes, what it feels like is there's like my higher self holding space for my inner child, much the way that it might be if I was being held in like a coaching relationship as a client, but I get to be the coach to myself. So I get to have the dialogue with my inner child, what's arising, and to listen with presence. Sometimes the inner child can also be known as the ego. So sometimes I think, the ego gets a bad rap, and we look upon the ego as if, it's kind of annoying and we want to get rid of it. But if we shift the perspective, if we have the perception that the ego is actually the inner child, the ego actually wants to be recognized and heard, and is actually doing its best to keep us safe. And even though that means that it's likely going to guide us to staying in that comfort zone, which the higher self wants us to move out of that comfort zone and move into the zone of growth and the learning zone. But to be having compassion for for me, it's so important to have compassion for the role that the ego, the inner child, plays, because it does want best for us. It's not trying to screw us over. It wants to do good for us. So having that presence where I actually get to be both pieces. I get to be the higher self, the inner child, and to listen and hold space and ask questions to the inner child, like what are they feeling? Like what am I feeling as my inner child? And then asking questions to go a little bit deeper, and hearing those responses rather than looking upon it like at being angry at it, or being upset about the patterns. Holding space with love, the same way that we would a little child. I have a beautiful little niece. She's just over 2 years old, and when she's crying, I'm not gonna like tell her to scream at her to stop crying. I'm gonna be there with her. I'm gonna get down on her level. I'm gonna hold space for her. So that's the inner child work has been a massive process for me, or a huge like perception, a huge tool for me to take into the times when there's densities showing up, when there's parts of myself that I'd rather not look at, or that I'd rather not share with other people, where I get to step into that role of the coach or the teacher or the leader, and dance between those aspects. Mm-hmm. And what about you, Aurora?
I'll share a few things that have been coming up for me, but first I just want to share my perspective. I love how you're talking about the inner child, and it's so important. And for me, I always picture the ego as more like a teenager who's like, I don't know, maybe 15, 16, and was given the keys to this bus, this body, and trying to drive it through life, but not really having had any driving lessons. And they're just trying to stay on the road. So like you were saying, we don't want to like kill the ego. Like I just want to give it a cookie and some hot chocolate and a hug and say, it's okay, I got this now, you can take a break, right? My consciously, awarely integrated soul is going to support and help you navigate this, and you can help me stay alive. That's great. And let's do more than just stay alive. Like let's aim for higher than that and move into this thriving energy.
Like, I'm gonna drive the bus, you can get in the back. Eat your cookie in the back.
Right? Yeah, and do it as a team, right? Our ego is important, our mind is important, our body's important. Like all of these aspects in integration really function so much better, right? It's really a team. And same thing with all of ourselves as humanity. I think so many of us grew up with this idolization of independence, at least in North America. It's so prevalent, right? Being independent. We're always fighting for that. I was that kid, like, I do it myself, guys. Like, screw off, mom and dad, me. And the more that I have come into wholeness and learn how to balance all of these different parts of me, bring them harmony, and also function, allowing myself to be supported. Like it's such a smoother ride. So that's really been coming up for me this last year or two, is the importance of being supported. Because I also did have hyper independence as a bit of a trauma response from my childhood, my parents being divorced, things like that, where I also didn't feel safe asking for help. So I went too far to that side, and I idolized being an island who didn't need anyone or anything really, and I was always all good. And the last 15 years has been in me coming back into understanding that I am part of team humanity. I don't have to do everything myself. I can receive support, and it's been more and more lessons of that. And this last year during the pandemic really highlighted for me how much support I still need to allow myself to accept, right? Even when it comes to my relationship with my husband, having a 5-year-old is much easier than having a 1-year-old or a newborn for us, because I feel like I've had enough practice letting go. But for a very long time, I felt like I had to do all of the stuff myself because that's what our daughter wanted. She didn't really want him. She wanted me, 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 me. And so everything came onto me, everything in my business, everything in my family, everything in the household, because I could do it better. Like I had all of these stories and ideas around it. And I have been leaning into this essence of being supported and receiving support. And I've really been shown through my energy levels what happens when I don't allow myself to receive support. I just get exhausted and burnt out when I tell myself those stories of I have to do it all myself, right? So being able to open to receive support, be supported by my friends, by my family, by the universe in business has been coming up a lot and making all the difference for me. So that's where I'm at right now, is playing with how much can I be supported energetically as well as physically, right? And I'm getting better at it. So that's amazing.
Makes me think of a, I don't know, quote or a meme or something I read once, but somebody was like, you should be embarrassed by the amount of support that you have. And I don't actually agree with that fully, because I don't think we should be embarrassed by it, but like you should have so much support that like it could be embarrassing if you had that mindset. It's kind of always stuck with me as like we need so much support, basically, is what I took out of that. Like we do need a lot of support. We're not just here to do things on our own, and that is especially the, you know, the new earth way that we're going. We're building a co-creative space, a co-creative earth, and it's okay to have support. And in fact, we need a lot of it. So
Absolutely. You know, it was really business that made me realize that I couldn't do it alone. And so receiving support in terms of coaching, in terms of having assistance, in terms of co-creating with you guys was one of the ways that I started to understand how this could apply in the rest of my life as well. Because how we do one thing can be how we do everything. And accepting and receiving support with household things, with childcare things, because it does, they say, you know, take a village, and we don't really have that village energy anymore. So we get to consciously cultivate it, find it, and it's not always easy, especially during a pandemic where the idea of just having a play date and hanging out with, you know, like other mom friends was ripped away from us. Having grandparents and aunties and uncles come and play and do all of that. So it's really illuminated for me this year the need and desire that I have for having that support. And I cannot wait until that is possible in this physical way. But for now, I've been leaning on the other ways that I can be supported and to support myself. It's so multifaceted and multi dimensional, right? On every level and every layer. So it's not a small topic.
It is. And that reminds me of something I was sharing in our ceremony yesterday, whereas as we did a beautiful ceremony called Nourish Ceremony inside the playground, and it was all about opening to receive. And it was just a super deeply nourishing experience. And I was sharing that we can also open to receive from spirit, from source, higher self, divine, whatever the word is that you use for the creator of all that is. You can open to receive from that energy because it's an infinite wellspring, and it's actually within you because you are made of that creative energy. So oftentimes if I'm feeling depleted or like I'm efforting on my own and I feel like I have to make something happen, I have the opportunity to remember that I can open to receive that support, that infinite support from all that is. Could even be putting my feet on the earth and just feeling Mother Earth supporting me. So it, like you were saying, Aurora, it is so multifaceted in the realms of where we get to create and open to receive support. And for me lately, a lot of my process has been resting and allowing myself to sleep and be nourished by food and water and certain supplements that are really good for my body. Because as we're having all of these light upgrades, some of us might find that we're needing way more sleep or like really good water with minerals added and blessing the water. And yeah, there's a lot of the physical body takes a lot of resources when this is happening on a cellular level as our DNA upgrades.
Yeah, my normal 6 a.m. rising time has turned into 7:30 because it just is what is necessary and more supportive to my body right now. So that's a beautiful segue into just reminding people that while things are being illuminated so strongly over the next couple of years, I'm sorry, it's not going to slow down that much. We have to just double, triple, quadruple down on the care we're giving our physical bodies first, because we can't do any of the fun energy work and spiritual stuff when our physical body is depleted. So please give yourself extra permission to take that rest, to focus on your nourishment, to bring things into balance for yourself. And please don't be like me and give yourself a hard time when you need a little bit more rest instead of going, oh, so lazy. I can't believe I haven't gotten up at 6 o'clock to work out every morning this week. It's like, yeah, but I was up a couple times in the night because the energy was just pummeling me. And spirit was knocking and being like, hey, here's some activations for you. Right. So we can choose kindness and compassion and gentleness for ourselves. And that is something that we want to bring to the world. So like Nina and Nicole have spoken into, we did co-create this membership called The Playground. And it's just this space for people to come and be nourished, nurtured, connected, and introduced to all kinds of different vibrational attunement tools, modalities, ceremonies to fill us up, body, mind, and soul, get us in alignment, and elevate us in our consciousness. We've got light language and belief repatterning, soul journaling, all kinds of mini courses like Align and Design that's all about teaching you to create conscious intentions for your life. There are other practices like movement and meditations. There are guest instructors every month of people that we know and clients of mine that are amazing entrepreneurs, spiritual beings that have so much to share. We've had Kundalini yoga, SRT, we've had breath of bliss, we have had shadow work come through. We will be having some ancestral healing this month. Oh my gosh, it's May already. And so we have this ever-growing library of resources and tools, along with each month of 6 to 8 new practices for people to play with and play in. And so if that's something that you feel like you might want more of in your life, community, connection, recalibration, you can join us in the playground. We'll make sure to drop the links in here so you can see that. And I just think we should be closing up pretty quickly, mostly because I have to pick up my daughter from play school. But Nicole, did you have anything else you want to say about this journey of, I want to say, processing the illumination as it's happening?
So processing as it's happening. I think it's really important to stay in this kind of witness observer state and not really be so attached, like to be attached to it. And actually, it's also been illuminating a lot for me of like, all these old things, old technologies, old energy methods like Reiki and crystals, they're all kind of changing and um, they're not the same as they used to be. And they'll be, as we evolve further, will be all these new higher dimensional tools will come into play. And so I've really been practicing letting go of my attachment to things as they are. I think that's a really big, important piece, is not remaining attached to what was so that we can create space for the new. And with the intention of that, it can be even better. Something even better can be coming along. And I think that if you're living in, it could be fearful because you're like, this is like my identity, or this is really important to me. And like, what else is there? Just let go of all of that and know that we are being asked to shift, transform, change, and it's going to be so much easier if you don't have attachment to whatever it is you're being asked to let go of. And then also taking that little like space between you as the observer and not you as that thing, so you don't get lost in the emotions and swept away with them. You still got to feel them, but we don't want to have them, spiral you down and get lost in them. And, you can't dig yourself out of a hole. So we want to be, we're explorers, I like to say, not archaeologists. We don't want to like do a ton of digging. We just want to explore what there is from that detached space. And, and then use the like alignment and love. Those are my pillars, to be with what is, to accept it, to love it, and to bring in the new.
I love that. Thank you so much. I feel like when both of you speak, sometimes I can't even hear it because I'm just feeling the energy of the words, which are just packed with codes and information. So these sessions are always going to be transmissions of energy as well as, the words coming at you. Nina, how about you? Do you have anything else you want to say about this journey of processing all of the illumination that's happening personally and collectively right now?
Be super, super gentle with ourselves, for this is something we've never done before. Humanity has never ascended in the physical body before. So this is brand new for all of us. And we have this journey ahead of us, and it's more will be revealed in time, but to remember that we get to be really gentle and kind with ourselves, and to continue to hold the highest vision in our minds, because we are co-creators, and with our intention, with our visualization, subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So as we utilize tools like visualization to embody it in our body and as a feeling in our body now, we are co-creating the future. Something that I'm actually visualizing, just to like add a little personal note is I love to travel. I love beaches. I love the ocean. And so frequently I'm imagining myself standing on a beach with the sand under my feet and the waves in the distance and being in the water like a mermaid. So whatever it is that you're wanting to experience in the future, as the future unfolds, hold that vision and you can allow yourself to feel it now. And as you step into that version of yourself who is living that now, then you'll start to make choices and aligned action from that perspective, from that energy. So hold that vision.
I love that. That's such a powerful reminder. And that is what I wanted to just remind people of. Part of what's being illuminated right now is how freaking powerful we are individually, but especially collectively. When we put our energy towards something, we can make it happen. We are not the powerless beings that so many of us sometimes have accepted that we were, because that has been a narrative that has been played for us of like, oh, who am I? I'm just one person. But, just one person can do a heck of a lot. And when we come together with people consciously, we can just make miraculous advances so quickly. And I really want to remind people that even though so much junk is being illuminated and highlighted right now, there's also so many people who are taking this opportunity of illumination to go, holy crap, I actually am a powerful creator being, and I am actively here to make this planet a better, kinder, more beautiful, healthier, safer place, whatever their mission is. Like, honestly, I keep amazing company, right? Like these beautiful beings, so many clients, so many people all around the world. And everybody that I know has this world and all of the people's on its best interests at heart. They're actively not only setting intention, but taking the aligned action to light up this planet in whatever way really feels aligned and good for them. Like, it brings me to tears on a weekly, if not daily basis, when I look at how beautiful these people are and what they are creating. Like, I know it seems like the world is falling apart right now and there's so much chaos, but I promise you, there are so many more people that are working to make it more beautiful than we can even dream. So this is a collective opportunity for us to transform all of that crap that is being illuminated and turn it into gold, to let us see what's not working and have that point us in the direction that we want to go. So we've had a lot of examples of what we don't want. Now I invite you to really consciously think, when you've got something being illuminated for you, of like, oh my God, I don't want this in my life. I don't want these feelings of isolation or feeling unsupported, for example. And instead of staying in that victim, oh, I'm so alone, you go, okay, how can I create more connection in my life? How can I bring in more support, mind, body, soul, energetically, in the physical? How can I be that which I want to create in the world, what I want to have, like Nina was speaking into? So let's just collectively agree to take all of that crap and let it show us what it is that we really want to create instead. So off my soapbox, just hope that I get really riled up and excited when I think about the future and the possibility and the potential and the expansion that we have available to us. So I've absolutely adored talking to you, Nina and Nicole, and everyone that's watching live or on the replay. Thank you for being here and shining your light. And we'll be back next week with another conversation about illumination. So sending you all, until then, so much love, so much light, and have yourself a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you all. Blessings.